Whiskey in the glass, golf in the mind. This is Inside the Ropes, a GolfCask original, where we dive in deep into the grain, the smoke, and the stories that bring us together. Welcome back to Inside the Ropes, and welcome to another special December edition of GolfCask Life Magazine. The art of chaos, the spark of ritual, and the whiskey that whispers. Inside the Ropes, Revelry and Reflection edition. Part 2. I'm your host, Brian Bailey, and if you've enjoyed last week's ride, buckle up. This is where we double down. We've got 5 stories today for you, 4 for the full squad, and 1 bonus for members only. We're hitting golf, whiskey, cigars, travel, and the kind of human insight that feels suspiciously like life is whispering, hey, pay attention to me. So settle in, pour something decent, light one if the moment calls for it. Let's go inside the ropes with golf coach Rob Fales.
Improvement in golf can be elusive. To start removing the mystery behind why it seems to come easier for some and impossible for others, we first need to understand the nature of the learning curve image 01.png. At the early stages, even the most minimal investment of deliberate practice and training yields high returns in skill improvement. As skill improves, however, the same or increasing efforts yield diminishing returns in improvement. For those who aren't familiar with experiencing the nature of a typical learning curve or haven't experienced it in recent memory, it can be a hugely frustrating thing to grapple with. The realization becomes, the habits that got me here now aren't getting me to where I'd like to go. When this becomes the case, not if. Golfers often resort to further ramping up the quantity of training, spending hours on the range beating golf balls as they've always done in hopes of retaining the same slope of the learning curve they've enjoyed until now. While increasing quantity of training can move you up the learning curve, it almost certainly does not do so efficiently, sustainably, and in many cases, enjoyably. What continues us up the learning curve turns out is not the quantity of training reps. It's rather the quality of training, which depends on the reflection process that takes place before, during, and after. Reflection is a skill. Several key guidelines to consider when implementing reflection in your training. Intent. Clarify what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it. Attention. Where did you place your focus in pursuit of the intention? Feedback. What actually happened relative to your intention? Notice, when it comes to feedback, it's not what should have happened or how you're feeling about what happened. Subjective, good, bad judgments. Useful feedback is stating the outcomes as they actually are. A good rule of thumb here is to avoid the 3 Ps: permanent, pervasive, and personal, and rather explain outcomes as temporary, specific, and external. An example below: golfer shanks a chip shot. Feedback using 3 Ps. I suck. Temporary, specific, external. Feedback. The heel of the club contacted the ball on that chip shot. Which feedback style might have a better chance to leading to long-term learning? What's the solution to I suck? If given TSE feedback, could relevant patterns be more obviously detected and adjustments made? Having an intent and being aware of attentional focus is critical, but without correct feedback, the quality of our reflection process diminishes, and so does the likelihood of us continuing up the learning curve. Thank you for reading and subscribing. With any questions, don't hesitate to email below. rfails@boarsheadresort.com.
Man, Rob, your voice has gotten so good on the radio. No, that was AI voiceover. But thank you, Rob, for the article. And if that doesn't nudge you towards better practice habits and maybe better self-talk, then check your emotional loft. That was a master class hidden inside of plain language. Speaking of mastery, here's what's waiting for you inside a GolfCask. Join GolfCask today and get GolfCask Life Magazine delivered straight to your inbox. Access to member-only tasting groups, early releases, and exclusive video content. Golf, whiskey, cigars, travel, community, it's all waiting for you at golfcast.com. And if you sign up now, it's free. All right, range work done, reflection activated, and emotional hazard avoided. Now let's dive into some whiskey-fueled philosophy and start with revelry, end with reflection, and somehow feature highly judgmental bees. Take it away, Mark, with Lost Whiskey.
The Happy Dance Revelry plus Reflection. This is a topic that I think is worth exploring. Who doesn't love a good raucous get-together? There is a fine art to revelry, There needs to be a proper mix of good libations. You need a few assholes to stir the pot. You need some long-lost souls who are not going to be offended by these said assholes and can return proper and adequate fire. You probably need a fire, some sort of music, grease of any kind will do, and a proper venue with some warmth. Old pictures on the wall, a familiar bartender, perhaps some multi-generational characters telling old war stories. Throw in some of the opposite sex, a few peanut shells on the floor, and hugs to end the evening, and we are getting damn close to the proper ingredients of a good revelry. Nights like this often lead to some headaches, but also some sort of reflection. Perhaps I should quit drinking. I need to eat better. I am jealous of my mate, who appears to be doing rather well. Damn, so-and-so is keeping good care of himself. Lot of questions emerge. It causes you to pause and take stock of one's life and their respective decision-making, which is a good muscle to have with all of us. You see, raucous times lead to reflective times. Reflective times leads to isolation and discovery. Intentionality and reflection are good to opine on, but not forever. At some point, we need another party, and thus the cycle of life. The ping-ponging between the art of chaos and order, between revelry and reflection. This is where I pivot to something I found very fascinating on this front. Enter bees. There was a German scientist, Karl von Frisch, back in the 1940s, who won the Nobel Prize of Science on his work with beehives. How in the hell is that even possible? Nobel Prize for bees? Karl discovered this groundbreaking discovery on how bees communicate with one another. It happens to be this perfect balance between order and chaos. Here is how it works. Beehives are very chaotic. Anyone can see at first glance, but bees go off on their own in an orderly fashion and look for the best flowers to get nectar from. When the bees return to the hive, they perform a happy dance. What Mr. Frisch discovered was that what appears to be total chaos and radoma dancing is actually very purposeful, exact, and orderly. How? He found that the flapping of the wings, length of dance, and curvature of their motion not only gives directional longitude to where to find the best flowers, but also the distance within military precision. The dance isn't really chaos. It's a beautiful and precise form of communication. The transcendent discovery in the natural world can't be understated. It borders on almost every religious pretext. It shows at very primitive yet sophisticated level. There are two diametrically opposed forces working within us and within our societies. We can't depend on either in isolation, or it will destroy ourselves or the collective. The real beauty of nature and life is sea-towing. They work in concert, both the revelry and the reflective first. There needs to be a meaningful journey of discovery, which is part of the reflective part of the equation. It's personal. It's within each of us. It's the pursuit of nectar that provides the substance on which we and the hive depend. Second, and equally important, is the communicating of this adventure back to the hive. What Frisch discovered is the value of the communication and the honesty in which it has to be pursued. You see the bees gorge themselves on the nectar and come back intoxicated and smell drunk. I can only imagine. Some bees are cheating little bastards, all societies have them, who prefer to lie where, or even if they found good nectar, they do so to throw the hive off the scent and keep the best all to themselves. But over time, this is a very hard charade to maintain. The hive eventually finds out that the dance and smell don't align. They see them as phonies, and the hive judiciously weeds them out because the hive depends on an honest dance. So what does this have to do with the tea in China? It's this. Selfish bees kill the hive. Nature intends all of us to go on that journey of reflection. It demands an adventure from all of us, sometimes and often in isolation. But as Frisch indicates through his work, there needs to be a homecoming, a party where the stories can be retold for the collective good. How beautiful is the discovery that it is done through a happy dance. Let's all raise our whiskey glasses and pray for both a good adventures and a safe return home to a raucous dance party. The hive and our greater world ecosystem seem to depend on it.
And if that didn't give you a new appreciation for bees, and maybe your own questionable life choices, then you missed the dance entirely. Now let's talk craftsmanship. Taste the passions behind products of our GolfCask Magazine contributors. Lost Whiskey, J.H. Bard's, Crescent Simples, Devil's Due, and of course, Four Corners Real Estate with Eddie K. They pour their lives into their craft. Let them know that GolfCask sent you. All right, philosophy class, dismissed. Let's grab a lighter because the next article is about the cigar. It's about how you start the ceremony. It's a knowledge piece from GolfCask founder, Brian Bailey. The spark that starts it all, choosing the right light. Before that first puff, before that smoke curls and the ash settles, the ritual begins with the spark. The lighter you choose isn't about convenience, it's about respect for the craft. Just as a golfer chooses the right club for a shot, the cigar lover knows the right flame defines the experience. Here's the breakdown of your lighting lineup and one traditional twist worth rediscovering. The soft flame, tradition's gentle touch. A soft flame, like the classic butane or Zippo lighter, offers control and elegance. It burns cooler, gives you time to toast the foot evenly, best suited for smaller ring gauges and calm conditions. It's a choice of purists who appreciate the process as much as the puff. But remember, one gust of wind and your soft flame vanishes like confidence after a shaken drive. Number 2. The torch. Precision meets power. When the elements turn against you, the torch is your best ally. Single, double, or triple jet, these blue flames roar hot and fast, perfect for outdoor settings. Just don't roast your cigar like a marshmallow. The key is to keep the flame just below the foot and rotate slowly. Think of it like a chip shot. Steady, smooth, and under control. Number 3, the tabletop behemoth, the 19th hole showstopper. Built for camaraderie and style, tabletop lighters are the clubhouse heroes, multi-jet powerhouses with generous fuel tanks. They're ideal for lighting several cigars in a social setting. If the torch is your driver, then this is your clubhouse decanter. Overkill for a solo player, perfect for post-round celebration with friends. Number 4, matches, the gentleman's choice. Sulfur-free wooden matches deliver a cool, clean light with no chemical aftertaste. Strike and introduce the flame gently. It's deliberate, elegant, and best enjoyed indoors. Using matches reminds you lighting a cigar isn't a chore, it's a ceremony. Number 5, the cedar spill, the connoisseur's secret. Now we're talking class. A cedar spill, a thin strip of Spanish cedar often found in cigar boxes, offers the purest light of all. Ignite the spill with a lighter or match. Then use the steady, fragrant flame to toast your cigar. The cedar imparts a subtle, woody sweetness that harmonizes with the tobacco. It's old school, refined, and deeply sensory. Like walking the fairway at dawn when everything feels just right. The final puff. Whether it's butane, jet, match, or cedar, the flame sets the tone. The goal isn't just to light a cigar, but to light the moment. Choose your spark with care and let the ritual begin. Cheers, my friend. If you never thought deeply about your lighter before today, well, welcome to GolfCask. This is what we do. Now let's talk poor decisions, because the ranking database just got a whole lot bigger. Poor decisions is expanding again. We've added cigar lounges and individual cigars to the ranking system. Whiskey, golf courses, pub, distilleries, and now the cigar world is officially on board. Keep the reviews coming. Help us keep the pours and the puffs honest. All right, ashes tapped, lighter cooled. It's time for a little travel story. We're heading south to Dallas for a layover adventure featuring one cocktail, 4 pours, and a bartender who couldn't resist dropping ice where it didn't belong. Take it away, Bo.
A flight of character, laying over in Dallas, Texas. I recently found myself with an overnight layover in Dallas near the airport. Hungry and craving a good pour, I consulted the ever-wise Google box and found the ranch at Las Colinas, a spot promising good food, better whiskey, and exactly the kind of atmosphere an idle traveler hopes to find. The experience offered a range of expressions, some smooth, some fiery, but all memorable in their own way. It began with the signature old-fashioned, a cocktail that immediately caught my attention thanks to its use of walnut bitters, a flavor I first discovered at Three Crosses Distilling back in Virginia. And before anyone raises an eyebrow, yes, the evening involved one cocktail and 4 pours. But rest assured, I was responsible enough to let Uber handle the driving. Pour number 1, Still Austin Bottle and Bonded Rye, 100 proof. A good pour, rich with nutty depth and rye spice. The bartender mistakenly added a rock to my neat pour, kind of a pet peeve, but I worked past it. The rye itself carried a light spice with a smooth, dry finish where the heat quickly dissipated. Nutty and oaky notes rounded out the mouthfeel. Remarkably approachable for 100 proof, this rye drank easy and with finesse. Number 2, Devil's River Barrel Strength 117 proof. Now this was a pour that demanded attention. Served neat, at last, without the unwanted rock. The nose was hot and bold, sweet with a cinnamon candy-like burn. The first sip revealed malted barley on the throat, grounding the whiskey with an earthy richness. Then came a long, rolling finish where heat lingered, gradually giving way to dark fruit and cherry notes. At 117 proof, it packed strength, yet maintained a complexity that made it one of the highlights of the evening. A strong, flavorful bourbon at an equally strong value. $15 a pour felt like a steal. Third one, Milan and Green Triple Cask Straight Bourbon 94 proof. This expression brings together casks from Texas, Tennessee, and Kentucky, all bottled in Texas. On the nose, corn sweetness and vanilla with a forward hit of ethanol. The palate leaned heavily corn sweet, laced with vanilla and almond nuttiness. The finish was medium in length, carrying the corn forward with a touch of spice. Pleasant, but leaned a bit too sweet for my taste. Still an easy drinker. The fourth one, Treaty Oak Bourbon, 94 proof. This one had an interesting mash bill, 57% corn, 32% wheat, and 11% barley. The nose opened with corn and ethanol layered with sweet vanilla. The palate had a striking buttery mouthfeel, grassy undertones, and hinted at pancake syrup. Raisin and dried fruit emerged mid-palate before giving way to a peppery, medium to long finish. The longer I sipped, the harsher it leaned, but its complexity kept me engaged. Final thoughts. Each pour offered a distinct story. Still Austin's rye brought balance and drinkability. Devil's River flexed strength and depth. Milan and Green leaned sweet and nutty. And Treaty Oak bridged buttery richness with peppery spice. My palate is still developing, but I was struck by how closely my impressions matched the professional reviews. A gratifying reminder that tasting is as much about trust in your senses as it is about notes on paper. If you stumble upon these bottles or happen to find yourself where they're being poured, take the time to enjoy them. They're well worth the glass.
If that didn't make you want to book a flight and wander into a whiskey bar with questionable lighting, I don't know what will. Let's talk about journeys ahead. The 2026 Whiskey Golf Trails are coming. Sparks, sip, swing at GolfCask. We are applying every GolfCask cornerstone to this new video series. More stories, more pours, more fairways, and more firelight. Stay tuned. And before we crown the night, here's something special for our members. A whiskey that doesn't shout, it whispers. Lean in for this one. Bo is stealing the show.
A double-barreled reflection, Bibb and Tucker Tennessee Bourbon. Some bourbons announce themselves with bravado. Others slip into the glass quietly, asking not for spectacle but for slow attention. Bibb and Tucker's double-barreled Tennessee Bourbon, finished in charred oak and bottled at 88 proof after more than 6 years of aging, falls gracefully into the latter category. At first sip, it's delightfully smooth, so much so that it feels almost understated. The nose is light, pleasant, if a touch indistinct, with wisps of vanilla and caramel rising from the glass. A subtle smokiness lingers at the edges, a nod to its second barrel, but it does not overwhelm. Traditional bourbon markers, corn sweetness, oak warmth, anchor the aroma in familiar territory. On the palate, the smoke softens, giving way to a savory sweetness. Vanilla and oak emerge alongside a surprising note of cherry, lending the whiskey a quiet elegance. Though Bibb and Tucker's own notes describe the whiskey as barbecue in a bottle, I found it more nuanced than that. Less bonfire, more campfire at dusk, where sweetness and savor mingle easily. The finish is brief, but it leaves behind a pleasant warmth, a suggestion rather than a statement. Curious about its versatility, I paired the bourbon with a Drew Estate Sweet Jane cigar. Its sugar-wrapped tip known for delivering an upfront sweetness that lingers into the smoke. The pairing proved intriguing. The cigar's sugary start muted the whiskey's smoke, but in doing so, it amplified the oak. Together, bourbon and cigar found a new balance. The dry, woody character of the Bibb and Tucker became more pronounced. Its oakiness deepened. Its finish lengthened ever so slightly. The result was unexpectedly harmonious, a pour and smoke combination that elevated each other rather than competing. On a second pour, I dropped in 2 ice cubes to test the bourbon's resilience. The chill opened the vanilla and oak, while pulling forward a spice note the distiller describes as cinnamon. I'll concede that point, though to me it read more as dark fruit sweetness, somewhere between cherry and plum, accented by a faint savory smokiness. The ice did not transform the whiskey so much as frame its existing qualities differently, sharpening edges that neat had left soft. Bibb & Tucker Double Barreled's not a whiskey that overwhelms with complexity, nor does it need to. Its strength lies in balance, subtle smoke, steady oak, a sweetness that shifts between vanilla, fruit, and corn. It's approachable, versatile, and inviting to experiment with, whether paired with a cigar, softened with ice, or simply sipped neat on a quiet evening. For those seeking fire and thunder, look elsewhere. For those content to linger in nuance, this bourbon is worth a seat at the table. Cheers.
If you ever wondered what a quiet bourbon tastes like, now you know. One last shout out before we wrap this baby up. Thank you for making Inside the Ropes one of the fastest growing whiskey golf cigar blogs in all of 2025. Keep reading, keep sharing, and keep showing up. We'll keep writing. As we bring this episode home, here's what stands out. GolfCask keeps growing, not by accident, but by community. We expanded pour decisions for cigars and lounges, we've added hours of new video content, and we deepened the storytelling across golf, whiskey, cigars, and travel. But here's the real highlight, meeting you. On the course, at the pub, around the barrel, or in the lounge, turning simple shared pours into shared stories. 2026 is loaded, and we're ready to pour every bit of it. Let's close this out with a toast. Here's to chaos and order, practice and reflection, cigars that light clean, and whiskeys that whisper. And don't forget about the journeys worth dancing home from. To every pour, every puff, every swing, and every member who makes this hive thrive. Spark, sip, swing at GolfCask. Cheers, my friend. Until next week. Until next time, keep your heads down, your spirits high, and your glass half full. Sip, swing at GolfCask.